There's this one lie that every writer falls for. I fell for it, and it wasted years of my life and hundreds of thousands of words. Now, it took me a long time to figure out the truth to overcome this lie, and I want to help you understand what that is so you'll overcome it too. Now, to do that, we have to talk about lasagna. We all know what a lasagna is, right? It's made up of wide, flat noodles, lots of different cheeses, a meat sauce. Now, there are a lot of variations of lasagna. In fact, there's probably an infinite number of lasagna recipes that could be created. Hell, there's even a vegan lasagna. But we still know what a lasagna is, right? I mean, you would never mistake lasagna for soup or a cake. So there is this boundary. And inside this boundary is lots of rooms to get crazy with your lasagnas, even a vegan one. But once you cross that boundary, what you have on your hands may still be food, but it's not a lasagna. It's something else. Something is either a lasagna or it is not a lasagna. This is objective. The recipes are endless and there are lasagnas that you subjectively like or dislike, but whether something is or isn't a lasagna, it's objective. Let's talk about writing a story now. We're often told the difference between good and bad writing is subjective, meaning it's up to your interpretation, or it depends on your perspective. This is art, after all. It's very fancy. You can't put rules on art. Well, if that's the case, let's look at another art form like music. Is there a fundamental difference between good and bad music? Is there some sort of objective view of music that works and doesn't work? Well, there are these fundamental principles of harmony and melody that all music must abide by in order to work. So there's music that objectively doesn't work because it doesn't abide by those fundamental principles, and then music that does work. This is not random. This is objective. And at this point, you might be saying, well, what about jazz? Jazz is pretty random. And I would answer that by saying, do you want me to be your jazz drummer? Because I've never played the drums before, and I'm guessing it won't work very well. What you really want is a great drummer that understands the fundamental principles of music and rhythm and how it should work, and then he can play inside of those boundaries. So just like something either is or isn't a lasagna, there are these boundaries. The fundamental principles of music apply the same way. There are either working music or not working music. Now, inside of those boundaries are what you could call formulaic structures. And formulaic structures are the prescriptive templates or guidelines that suggest a specific way that this type of music often follows. They can be helpful for a starting point or a checklist for creating music, but they can't be universally applied to all great music. In fact, if you over-apply formulaic structures, it creates overdone, cliche music. Now, these formulaic structures, these are subjective. So you may love Taylor Swift, and I may subjectively hate her music, but her music objectively works. Okay, I can't fake it. Who doesn't love a bit of Tay-Tay? Writing is the same way. There are formulaic structures to writing. We've heard of these. Save the Cat, the Snowflake Method, that famous talk by Kurt Vonnegut. And these are very useful templates and guidelines to how stories like this are usually told. But if you over-apply them, at best, they create a cliche story, and at worst, they just create a fundamentally broken story. And you learn these things as you dive deeper into the stories that you're trying to write. So if you read a lot in the specific genre or the specific type of story that you're trying to write, you're going to pick up on these formulaic structures of how these things tend to work. But they are subjective. They don't always have to be applied the same way. But there are also fundamental principles to writing that make a story and make writing work or not work. These are the things we're constantly teaching at StoryGrid. The 5 commandments of storytelling, the character objects of desire, valence language, the principles of genre. These are fundamental principles that help make your story work or not work if you don't apply them. Your story must abide by these or it doesn't work. And here's the thing, these are learnable. These are skills that you can actually learn. And as you practice these skills and get better and better and better, your writing is going to move from not working to working, and you're going to be inside that boundary now. This is the answer to that big lie. We are fed this lie that writing is a subjective art form and you can't really teach it, and it's not really objective, and it just kind of comes to you if you work hard long enough, and that is bullshit. I want you to stop believing this lie because it does two things. First, it keeps you trapped in randomness. We are told that if we just get up and work and put our work in and put the words down on the page and put our butt in the seat and produce our words day in and day out, that sometime in the future, the magical muse will fall on you and you will suddenly get it and you'll be a great writer. Second, it keeps the special people feeling special. If they can keep you convinced that it's just subjective, it's kind of random, and you just have to keep working at it, and most of you won't actually get it, and they can keep feeling that they are just the special ones that were touched by the muse and given the gift, and you're just a part of the unwashed masses that don't quite get it. I want you to stop believing that lie, that writing is just a subjective art form that you just have to grind and grind and grind and just wait that hopefully one day you will get the blessing. There are fundamental principles to writing. These are skills that you can learn. And once you learn them, your writing will move from not working to working. And then as you get better and better at them, your writing will become better and better and better. It's not random. It doesn't have to feel like you're just wandering in the woods hoping you find your way out. It doesn't have to feel like just grinding and grinding, not knowing what you're doing right and doing wrong. This is something you can actually move towards purposefully and get better at. Now, at this point, you may be wondering, well, if all of this talk about fundamental principles and this is what I'm learning, is my writing just going to become stiff or boring or, God forbid, cliche? Well, I've got good news for you. That is definitely not the case. And I addressed that in another video about finding your voice and style in writing, and that's on your screen right now. So click that and watch that next. You're going to love it. If you want to know more about me or StoryGrid and all the great resources we have available, you can go to storygrid.com or check down in the description. But until then, thanks so much for being a writer, and I'll see you next time.